Biden's crises are getting worse by the day as oppression from D.C. gets more pronounced. A new generation of conservatives rising to meet this threat. Joining me now is congressional candidate for the state of New Hampshire and former assistant press secretary for the Trump administration, Karoline Leavitt, along with congressional candidate for Nevada and former member of Latinos for Trump, Carolina Serrano. Ladies, welcome to you both. Carolina, early voting data in my home state of Texas suggesting the Latino vote is shifting, and not in a small way, to Republicans from Democrats. The latest NRCC poll is showing the same thing. As Biden and the Democrats are now becoming synonymous with crime, defunding the police, poverty, anti-free speech, and China virus mandates, do you think that's why the Latinos are looking elsewhere?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Chris. I saw the trend moving in 2020 with Latinos for Trump. We saw it after the election. Axios Politico put out reports seeing the shift in Hispanics towards President Trump because his policies really resonate with just any red-blooded American. You want safe communities, good education, a stable economy, good paying jobs. And Hispanics come from countries that are corrupt, full of crime, and they see that trend happening here, and they're going to do everything they can to stop it.
Caroline, under Trump, the U.S. was an energy exporter and independent. Biden has reversed all of that in record time. Recent reports reveal the United States is now heavily reliant on, believe it or not, Russian oil. Just more absurd policies harming Americans, no?
No, that's exactly right, Chris, and thank you for having me. And Carolina, it's great to see you. I'm glad to see you're doing well with your campaign as well. But in just 13 months, as you said, Chris, we have seen the Biden administration totally reverse all of the successes that we had in the Trump White House. And you mentioned it, energy independence, namely number one. That's hitting the American people where it hurts. They're paying higher for gas than they have in years. They're paying more for groceries. They're paying more for all goods. And that is a direct result of this administration's policies and the reckless spending that we're seeing in Washington, D.C. So I believe that Americans of all stripes, races, religions across this country are going to fundamentally reject this agenda. And we as conservatives and Republicans, whether you're a candidate or you're just a good-hearted American, need to be talking about what we are for. And that is economic freedom. That is a good education. That is bringing back family and those values that make America great, which we did in the Trump White House. And we are going to have a red wave in November. There is no doubt about it. And it is all because of the faults of this administration.
And ladies, I got to ask you about this because there's a trend that is exploding across social media, even getting into the liberal social media platforms. Because the country's going to hell in a handbasket, Biden's supporters themselves are getting lit up. Biden's supporters, those who allegedly voted for Mr. Biden, 81 million or so of them are being called out on social media. So, Carolina, you go first. What do you think about holding those who supported Biden for all of the crime and the war breaking out and of course, the empty store shelves and such? What do you think?
I mean, listen, we're all suffering together. I think that people really need to wake up and understand that their choices when they go to a ballot box or when they go to the polls, that choice that they make has consequences. And we have to be done with emotional voting. You really have to pay attention to the candidates that you're electing, listen to the platform. Mainstream media has been a big divider in this. Of course, for 4 years, people just heard all the out of context clips from President Trump, which were not true. And so this influences people, but people really need to do their research, elect candidates that will defend their interests, defend America, and allow Americans to live freely as we have always and how we want to.
Yeah, Caroline, I got to just ask. I mean, here we are with everything going, as I mentioned, in the wrong direction. Nothing is going right in the United States right now. And a lot of people who are suffering, and we're all suffering together, are starting to point the finger at those who supported Joe Biden for really no good reason.
Yeah, well, rightfully so. And quite frankly, I don't believe that 81 million Americans actually did legitimately vote for Joe Biden. Let me just say that. But for the millions that did, they should understand that their vote, as Carolina mentioned, has severe consequences. And we're feeling them on all fronts in our country right now. We need to teach voters, particularly younger voters. I'm a Generation Z candidate and would be the youngest ever elected, will be the youngest ever elected in November. My generation particularly has lost all critical thinking skills. They read the media, they read the headlines, they listen to Hollywood, they look at what's on their big tech platforms, and they believe it and they eat it up. And they listen to actors such as AOC, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and everyone on the left who's always screaming much louder than our leaders on the right. No more. We need strong conservative fighters and candidates like myself and Carolina to take back the House this November and to speak truth and to really change minds, or we're going to lose our country.
Carolina Serrano and Caroline Levitt, thank you, ladies. Appreciate the visit.